What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. You guys are all having a wonderful morning. I sure am. Just got finished with a nice casual 7-mile jog. But here we are in the E92 M3 on the way to the shop, and I figured it's probably a good time to make this little video. This is the first time I've driven this car after putting on the Evolve Stage 2 tune. Literally, the car just got finished warming up, just grabbed my coffee, and hey, let's experience this thing for the first time. I will say, just giving it a little bit of beans, it's a lot better. A lot better. It's got a lot more pep to it. The car is not as sluggish as it used to be. Now, to be completely upfront with you guys, I didn't expect this tune to make this car like an absolute beast or anything. The only real way to get power out of this engine without going too crazy is to supercharge the motor without, spending a ton of money and going like a stroker kit and doing all that. But if you just want a little boost on top of the stock horsepower and torque, this is definitely the way to go. So, funny story, I received everything from the guys over at Evolve to do a stage 1 tune on this car, and the most important thing for me, well, I actually just wanted to delete the catalytic monitoring codes that I was getting with my high flow test pipes. And the process is really simple. You just connect your PC to the OBD2 port using this dongle right here that they supply for you, and then you go ahead and download their software. You read the ECU, you send them the ECU file, and then they go ahead and make a tune according to that file, send it back to you, you program it in. Pretty straightforward process. I went to read the file on my ECU, and it was giving me an error. And I'm like, that's weird. Why would this stock ECU on this 2008 M3 be giving an error? I had no idea. I didn't know if it was like my connection or what. So I just reached out to them. I was like, yo, I'm getting this weird connection error. Like, not really sure what's going on. It seems that it can't read the DME. Long story short, it turns out that this car was actually tuned on the Stage 1 Evolve tune in 2014. Dude, a decade ago. So when I was going to make this video, I was trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to approach it. And I just think the fact that this car has been on a Stage 1 Evolve tune for 10 years without any issues is sort of a testament in and of itself that this tune is pretty damn solid. So I wasn't gonna just go ahead and re-flash in the same tune, of course. I asked them to go ahead and bump this up to the Stage 2 tune and also add in the servotronic software upgrades that gives the steering a bit of a more firm feeling at higher speeds and then loosens up the steering at lower speeds. And you can definitely feel it. It's not a huge difference, which is good. Obviously, you don't want it to be like some polarizing heavy-ass steering wheel right out of the gate, but I can feel it a little bit, and I do like it. They said that that is probably the most common thing that people put into these cars on these tunes because it just makes the steering feel that much better. As you guys know, the E92 M3s, they have the hydraulic steering versus the electronic steering like a lot of the newer cars, and that's a huge complaint with a lot of like the G and F series. It's just everything is so electronic. There's no real feedback. These were sort of the last M3s that had that raw hydraulic feeling. Well, this sort of just takes that one step further, and it feels really good. As far as the power, what I noticed right off the bat, there's definitely a bump in torque. Like, it feels way more peppy off the line. These cars are pigs, man. I drive this car every single day to the shop, and it's just a slug, dude. These cars really shine in the higher RPMs. Once you start getting out on the open roads or like the track, they perform flawlessly, and they're so fun to drive, and they will humble you once you get up there. But when you are at these lower RPMs and you're just going from like stoplight to stoplight or stop and go traffic, it's really it's kind of a slug, a pig of a vehicle. It doesn't really have a whole lot of pep in it, which everyone knows about the S65, which is why a lot of people go for the supercharger. And I will say the supercharger feels great in these cars, but again, you kind of have to worry about reliability issues, longevity issues, especially with the main bearings being a big problem in these cars. Everyone addresses the rod bearings, but no one really, addresses the main bearings because that's a much bigger job. Nonetheless, if you're looking for a little more pep in the step in the S65, the Evolve Stage 2 tune, from what I can tell, is a good way to go. But yeah, it just feels much more effortless when you're driving the car. and putting in the throttle, it's nice. It's really, really nice. Like, it's a good upgrade. And I went from the stage 1 to a stage 2, so it's really not even that dramatic of a difference for me. If I can feel it in the stage 2, which I felt immediately when I left my driveway, you can definitely feel it if you went from no tune to stage 2. It's a very, very good, solid, incremental amount of power and pep, but it's not like, you know, you're gonna be like, holy crap, it's a whole new car. It ain't like that. It ain't like that. I was busy driving the 135 all weekend, just going out, filming videos, going to car shows, just enjoying that car because it's so different than this car, and I love the fact that I can just swap between the two. Both cars just teach you different types of driving, different styles of driving. That's what I really like about owning both of these cars. Like, you really, really learn a lot about driving skills and just different types of motors and the torque delivery and horsepower delivery in a single turbo N54 with totally different noises comparatively to an S65 that's so like linear and, you know. This car feels great though, man. This car feels so good. I'm in love with the power delivery in this car right now. It's gonna be so solid when we get it set up and ready for track. Everyone's like, why aren't you tracking? Why aren't you tracking? Guys, there are proper steps to take to tracking a vehicle. And right now, my shift shaft seal decided that it would like to go ahead and leak again, which is, so this will be the second time I'm putting in a new shift shaft seal. And I also need to do the clutch. Quick note on the clutch and flywheel. Some of you guys may know that I talked about this in a previous video. I am replacing the clutch and flywheel with this car. I was going with OEM clutch and OEM flywheel. However, I talked to the guys over at E9X, and I am going to be doing their lightweight flywheel with my OEM clutch. So I'm returning the OEM flywheel, and I'm going with a lightweight flywheel, which is going to increase some of the noises that you get out of this car, but I kind of don't really care about that anymore. Like, I know where this car is headed, and I already got more noises when I went to like the new trans bushings and all that. I've adopted it. I'm cool with it. I've totally accepted that part of this car. But nonetheless, the benefits that you get out of the lightweight flywheel, oh buddy, it didn't take much for me to be convinced that that lightweight flywheel was the way to go. Shout out to Matt over at E9X. He pretty much convinced me to go with it. I saw a few videos of it and I was like, oh yeah, I need it. It's so much faster, it's so much lighter of a flywheel that the response is just, it's just sick. It's just sick. I was like, I don't care what noises it brings. Like, I need that in my car. So I'm doing that, and then I'm also going to be doing a carbon drive shaft. Those are the things that need to happen before this car gets on track. One, this clutch is done. Like, it's not done, but it's getting there, and I would be a fool to go out on the track with this clutch. I would totally burn it up and probably get stranded. Two, shift shaft seal, if that is leaking, you will have problems on the track. Ask me how I know. That is exactly what happened in my E36 M3, and that is exactly what got me black flagged at Carolina Motorsport Park. So I've learned my lesson. Take care of your shit before you go out on the track. That's exactly what I'm doing. Outside of high temp brake fluid and good brake pads, there's just a few core things that I need to take care of, and we are 100% tracking this car. You guys not even a question. I've got an instructor for the year. I'm doing all kinds of crazy shit. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so fun. This year is all about learning in this car, and I'm setting myself up for success when it comes to that. In addition to that, I also threw on some Turner Motorsport sway bar end links. I was having a real problem with Bimmer World sway bar end links in this car. They were making so much noise. Like, it almost sounded like something was loose up in my front suspension area. It was just awful. It sounded so bad. And, you know, these are Olin's Road and Track coilovers currently in this car, and you should not be having noises like that. Like, it sounded absolutely terrible. So ended up upgrading to the Turner Motorsport sway bar end links, which are also made by SPL, if you didn't know. And man, let me tell you what a world of a difference that made. They are thicker, they're better quality, even the hardware is larger. They're just more durable, and they don't make any noise. The front just feels so much more solid. Simple things like sway bar end links can make a really, really big difference, guys. It's just important to tackle as many of those little things as possible. But to be completely honest with you guys, I didn't really expect that big of a change with the tune. being that I was going from stage 1 to stage 2, so I was kind of like, I don't really know how to approach this video, but I think, you know, the fact that this car has been on a stage 1 from Evolve for 10 years is pretty sick. And I did the rod bearings in this car, I checked the oil, the condition of everything often. This motor's healthy, man. There's nothing to worry about with this motor. It feels great. It's like the perfect amount of power for just an NA S65. So the other thing that the guys told me at Evolve is that the software on this car is so old, it has to be updated. So I'm gonna end up actually updating this software at the shop, and then they can send me a revised file tune with the new software that we put on this car, and it should be way better. When I was talking to the guys over at Evolve, they were like, dude, you're probably not even gonna feel a difference because the software that's currently on the car is just so old, they're pretty limited with what they can do. So once I upgrade the software, we'll probably have to make a follow-up video because I think that this car is probably going to respond much better to the tune. I can actually feel a difference. Now, again, is it like a massive difference? No, but it's certainly noticeable. The other cool thing about this tune, you can add in things like pops, bangs, like fire, whatever you want. Obviously, I ain't doing none of that because I'm just not about that. Keep my stuff pretty conservative when it comes to driving these cars. At the end of the day, like I do drive this car right now every single day, so it's like I don't want all that. That just gets annoying. But yeah, 10 out of 10. Recommend this tune if you guys are interested in it. It's just so easy. Like literally, just download the software, plug it into your car, send them a file. They send you a tune file back, and you're done. Tell them what you want on the tune file. The servotronic stuff is nice. It gives it a really nice heavy feel when you're driving in the corners. Much heavier than, you know, the factory hydraulic steering, and it lightens it up when you're at like a slow roll. It's always funny when I buy some of these older cars that have like a big questionable history and something like this happens and you're like, oh my god, like it's been tuned for 10 years. I just thought that was like so cool. I think actually in the previous life of this car, it was a track car. There were just a lot of signs that point to track car use, which is fine. It doesn't really bother me as long as the car is healthy and I know what I'm going to do with it. You know, most of the time I'm replacing everything anyways on these cars, so it doesn't really matter as long as the motor is healthy and I don't have to replace that. Typically, I'm cool. Man, I'm still loving the way that this car sounds. I think this exhaust is just the perfect setup for this car. The only thing that I could see myself doing down the road, specifically when I get into more like track content, track focus, is swapping out the high flow catalytic converters for just straight up test pipes. For flow and efficiency on the track, that's probably going to make the most sense. Even though personally, I like the tone of having catalytic converters because it just sort of keeps things a little more at bay and a little less raspy. It sounds really good as it is now. Like I don't really want to change anything, but if I had to, that would be one thing that I would actually change for the track, just for track driving and whatnot. The last thing that we are going to do is I am going to actually put this car on the dyno, and I'll do that after I update the software in the car, and then I go ahead and reflash in the new Stage 2 Evolve file, which they think is going to be considerably better than the current file that I have on the car, which also makes sense. Better software, better tune, more capabilities. And yeah, we'll see how much it makes. Like again, I'm not expecting this car to make a ton of horsepower. It's not what these cars are about. If you're getting into one of these cars and you think you're going to make a ton of power, don't get this car. It's not the car for you. But if you want a driver's car, this is the one. If you want all of the good sounds, all of the good feelings, the last raw feeling BMW M model, like this is the one. And I will die by those words. This is definitely one car that, you know, I am so glad that I decided to keep it. Like, man, I was close to selling this thing 4 or 5 months ago, and oh boy, am I glad that I decided to hold on to it. It's just such a good car. Yeah, it feels great. This car feels really good. And the best part is we don't have any more catalytic monitoring codes. No more service engine soon light on my dash. It's like, that just annoys me over time. It's definitely got more kick to it. It feels really good. All right, so we just got to the shop. Time to get things done. If you guys are interested in the Evolve tune, I'll have it linked down below. I'll keep you guys updated with the new tune file that we put on. We'll make a whole new video, and then of course we'll get into the actual dyno footage as well, which should be interesting. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.